Hey everyone, this is G, and today I'm going to show you how to turn pigment into paint. So you're going to need a little micro scale for this because we're working in really small increments. The pigment of choice today is TLP Gilded from this little piggy. This is a very beautiful gold with a very beautiful shimmer, and we'll use this for this example. Along with it, we need a binder. I'm using Pibio's Bindex, and here it is again, just in case you missed it the first time. And to go with it, we need a gloss gel, a heavy gloss gel. I'm using this from Montmartre, and you can use other brands. It doesn't have to be this one. You also don't need Liquitex, so you don't need Pibio's Bindex specifically. It can be something like Triart Polymer or anything else of the sort. My pouring medium is going to be Flood Floetrol, and I'll explain to you why you need these things as we go. Okay? In essence, paint is pigment suspended in an emulsion, right? The pigment is a powder, and then the other components, the binder is a liquid, right? There's more that goes into the paint than just this. There's fillers sometimes, and there's surfactants. There's other components that give the paint properties, like things like preventing it from frothing, or preventing it from, or helping it self-level, for example. We don't have access to any of that now. We're just making a very basic paint and binder, and we're using the gloss gel to essentially give it body, right? Because we want to control the viscosity in fluid art, right? So I'm starting with 1 gram of the pigment, okay? This is 1 gram of the pigment, and to it, I'm going to add the Bindex, about 3 grams. All I'm trying to do here is to wet the pigment into this sort of slush-like consistency, right? It's not gonna fully incorporate. It's just gonna be a little bit slushy. It'll have no body, right? Like it won't feel like it's thick at all. It'll feel very fluffy against the stick, and in essence, this will help keep the pigment suspended in the emulsion that we're gonna create. Plus, it will help you dissolve the gloss gel, which is notoriously difficult at breaking down into a pouring medium. Gloss gel isn't really intended for the purpose we use it for in fluid art. It's meant to be mixed with your paint on a palette with a palette knife, right? It's not really meant to be stirred in a cup the way we do with a fluid. So at this point, you have 1 gram of the pigment plus 3 grams of the Bindex, right? Ignore this weight completely in terms of the recipe for fluid art, right? We have 4 grams total in the cup, and then to them, I'm going to add about 8 grams of the gloss gel, okay? The gloss gel is very thick, it's very sticky, and it's very hard to break down, right? It will mix easily with the Bindex and the pigment, but it doesn't mix easily with fluids, right? You're gonna incorporate it here, and as you incorporate it with the slush, you'll notice that it's going to start feeling a lot like paint and looking a lot like actual acrylic paint that comes out of a tube. And for all intents and purposes, if you want to use a brush and apply this paint, you can. You can use this as a paint now. But if you're watching my channel, you most likely want to use this in its fluid form in fluid art, right? So now you have 1 gram of pigment, 3 grams of the Bindex, and 8 grams of the gloss gel for a total of 12. Now, when we use this in a fluid art recipe, you're gonna ignore the 1 gram of pigment and 3 grams of Bindex. Treat this like it has 8 grams of paint in it, right? Because the weight of the Bindex and the pigment is, it's not really making this denser, in a sense. It's going to give you very misleading results if you deal with this as if it were 12 grams of paint, right? You will deal with this as if it's 8 grams of paint. The weight of the gloss gel, the component we specifically added to give the paint body and make it thick, right? So I want to do a thin recipe, which I consider is 3-to-1 Floetrol to paint. So if I have 8 grams of paint, I will multiply that by 3 to have 24. That's how much Floetrol I'm gonna add, 24 grams of Floetrol. Okay, that's 3-to-1 Floetrol to paint. What's actually in the cup is 1 gram of pigment, 3 grams of Bindex, 8 grams of gloss gel, and finally 24 grams of the float roll at the end. Now I'm gonna spare you watching how slow it is trying to break down gloss gel. I'm just gonna speed up this video. It's better if you add your fluid in increments to the pouring medium. Don't add it all at once like I did for the camera. Add 1 part, mix, add 1 part, mix, and it'll break down a lot easier. If you add it all at once, you're gonna have to suffer through it like I did here. Now remember I told you gloss gel is typically actually mixed on a palette with a palette knife. A much better and easier way to do this is if you have silicone mats, is to dump everything out onto the silicone mat and take one of these wider palette knives and literally grind it down in circular motions like this. You may have seen people do this with pigment and oil paint before, or maybe even pigment and gum arabic, which is used to make watercolor. And they do it on glass, usually not on a silicone mat. It's pretty much the same idea. When people mix pigment, traditionally, it's done like this. It's not done in cups like we do in fluid art. So materials are not generally designed to be mixed in cups the way we do it, right? And if you have a silicone mat, it's really, really easy to scoop the maybe 99% of the paint that's on the mat from this mixing process, so you don't really waste much. It's easier also if you can lift up the mat a little bit and you'll scoop very efficiently. And then you just set that all back in the cup and you've made fluid paint out of pigment now. So I'll show you the consistency. We're going for 3:1. That should give us a trail that is just visible on the surface of the paint when you drizzle it and then sinks relatively quickly within a second or so. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So here's the paint. Let's stir it up and drizzle. There's the trace, and there it goes sinking. I hope you enjoyed this video. This was G, and if you want to see more content like this or learn fluid art from me in detail, check out the online courses. I'm going to leave them in the comments and in the description box.